Hello, I'm Atindra Chaturvedi. In this video, we will take a deep dive into managing image profiles in a vSphere 6.5 deployment. We will do the image profile management in a vCenter Server appliance version 6.5. In this lab, I'm logged in into the VMware vSphere web client into a vCenter Server appliance version 6.5. So everything you're seeing here is version 6.5. It is running on ESXi version 6.5 as well. Something new that you would probably see here that you might not have seen before would be the update manager icon and the auto deploy icon. Auto deploy, of course, has been there, but not the way it is implemented right now. And then we have the update manager, which used to be a separate entity essentially. So we're here to talk about auto deploy. Auto deploy being the capability. When I click on that, it'll give me the getting started. So auto deploy basically allows for rapid server deployment, provisions vSphere hosts when you power them on. There are deploy rules that one creates. Based on that, there's a Pixie boot, and then there's an image profile that's loaded into that server, and then a host profile is implemented on top of that to customize that host to that host profile. So the process basically is also the terminology around it, and I'm sure this being an advanced class, you're already familiar with auto deploy. Just briefly, a software deploy is basically a repository of software contains image profiles and software packages. An image profile would be a bootable profile. You can create a deploy rule. A deploy rule basically matches multiple image profiles with hosts. So for example, you can say one image profile can be used for a set of hosts with an IP address of which ranges between 192.168.0.200 to .202. So it's for address 200, 201, and 202, and that image profile would be applied when those hosts actually boot up. Activate, deactivate deploy rules. Of course, this is for just the management of the deployment rules. Now, before this release, the whole capability of auto deploy and managing image profiles and so on was available in Power CLI, and that is still available. And in fact, from what I have seen, the Power CLI gives you, especially the Power CLI 6.5, it gives you all the commandlets you will ever need to be able to completely control each and every aspect of auto deploy and creating image profiles. The GUI based version that we have, or the graphical version that we are seeing here, is actually useful to a certain degree, but I have not been able to make it do everything that it's possible for me to do with Power CLI. So I have been using the Power CLI, but I have certainly found this to be quite useful. So just to learn what we have available here, let's click on software depots. So I have a ESXi 6.0 official depot, and then I created a custom depot which I've called the PactPub custom depot. So what is a depot? So let's look at the official depot. So in the official depot, as we said before, depots are basically repositories of image profiles. So you can see here image profiles. There are two of these for ESXi 6.0 in here. The standard one with VMware tools and the no tools without the tools, and of course the software packages that are there as well. Basically device drivers and so on. You know, just the basic ones that are there. These are all, as you can see, VMware certified. So these are top level signed VMware signed packages, software packages. When I click on the PactPub custom depot and I look at image profiles, you can see that there are two image profiles there. So we can look at this one, image profile 2, that is community supported, and the vendor is PactPub published. And obviously this is an image profile that I created myself. And you can see when I click on that, down at the bottom here, you are able to see the various software packages that are part of it. What are the possible things I can do with that? So let's look at some of these icons here. So this would export the selected image profile as an ISO. So ISO would then create a bootable image, or as a zip file that would create basically an offline depot for you. Then you have the ability to move an image profile from one custom depot to another. Well, right now I just have one custom depot, but if I did, I would be able to do that. This would compare image profiles to another image profile. Actually comes in handy, and I think this is very useful to be able to do graphically, because if there is a problem with device drivers and stuff like that, when you compare, you're able to actually find out what makes one image profile that boots different from another image profile that does not, or has problems. This is to clone the image profile. This is a standard practice. You pick up a standard official profile and a VMware profile, and then you massage it. Basically, you can add software packages for device drivers, or if you're using, for example, Cisco Nexus 1000V, you can add the software packages there also. You can, of course, delete it, you can edit it, or you can add a new image profile. So we are going to just quickly take a look at editing image profile settings and software packages. So I could change the name of this. That's possible. So I just call it new. I can change the pack publishing. Let's add the suffix of new. The acceptance level is community supported. As you know, there are 4 of them. I can change it to VMware accepted. And then, of course, I have this whole list of 77 software packages that are that make up that image. I'm going to change, say, remove this one, and I click next, and basically now I have 76, and I click finish, and we're done. It's really very simple. So here we have the new image profile, VMware accepted, vendor is PackPub publishing new. And when I click on this, you will have the packages here, and it'll be missing that package that we just removed from it. Pretty straightforward and intuitive. How do we create a new image profile? So I click on the plus sign, I give it a name, PackedPub, new, vendor can be PackedPub. It'll only go into the custom depot, not in the official one. Acceptance level, VMware certified, it's fine. And then this is where the GUI option, it'd be nice to have another checkbox here which I select. I can select all of them and then deselect, or some better way of managing this. I have not been able to find one. So let's just pick a few of these. Okay, as you can see, I'm just picking up what would be essentially device drivers, right? So let's see what happens here when I click on next. Okay, basically what it says is the profile does not contain a bootable ESXi image, so at least one boot kernel is required. So we need, one of these. Okay, and then of course there are a lot of package dependencies which should not be fulfilled. All very expected, right? So this does not contain a bootable image. So you have to resolve these errors before continuing. So this is obviously a good thing. When I go down, you have all these other images available as well. So I'm going to cancel out of that, because that's all there is to it, okay, in terms of creating a new image profile with this graphical user interface. I can then also, in the software depot section, I can create a new custom depot. Very straightforward. I can create an online depot, name, URL. I'm just going to create a custom depot which will reside right here. PackedPub local depot. Click OK, and the PackedPub local depot actually shows up here. Okay, now when I look at what's in it, when I select it, there's basically nothing in there. Okay, let's look at this icon, import software depot. Okay, so I'm going to import an ESXi 6.5 depot, which is the official depot that I have downloaded, and I will browse for that. This will open up. I have selected the VMware ESXi 6.5 depot here. I click on open, and then I do an upload, and the upload begins. The file was uploaded. I close it, and my ESXi version 6.5 depot shows up here. I select it, and I see that the image profiles in there are the 2 ESXi 6.5 profiles. Again, this is standard VMware official depot. So it's partner supported, vendor is VMware, and you have the no tools and the standard version with the tools. And of course, the software packages in there are all these software packages. As you can see, the ESX versions are all 6.5 versions. Okay, so that was basically a software depots, how to import a software depot and then how to create a custom depot. Now let's look at deploy rules. I have a deploy rule in here called packed pub rule. It is currently active and it has certain patterns and so on to it. So let's select this, and since it's active I cannot edit it, so I will deactivate that rule. And the way you do it is to select it and kind of move it down to the deactivated section, and I click on finish. Now when I click on this I should be able to edit it. And packed pub rule new, I could change the name. I could apply it to all hosts, or I could apply it to hosts that match the following pattern. So right now the whole this rule actually says that the IPv4 addresses for the hosts have to be between .200 and .202 for the network 192.168.0, and that the domain has to be packed pub .local. There's a bunch of patterns in here. Here we go, a bunch of patterns in here. What I would recommend is to understand exactly what the format should be for these patterns. Look at the VMware documentation, but you can very clearly see that you can very granularly pick out servers. There's plenty of detailed patterns in here that one can actually apply. So for our purpose, since we are editing the deploy rule, let's delete the domain and leave that like that, and I click on OK. And of course that has changed. The pattern is now just the IPv4 pattern, and I can activate the rule, and that is done by clicking on this and then moving it upwards and then hitting next and then finish. And now that rule is actually active and available for use. The host profile, so far in the GUI I've not been able to edit in the sense that I can add a host profile in here, but of course when I create a new deploy rule I have the ability to assign a host profile to it. And then you have the location, and then you have the script bundle. This is a good capability because it allows you to add a script post the boot, similar to the post boot scripts. When you install ESXi, you can use a Python script, would be the language one would use normally. So a small Python script would be available to be able to run. It's a really nice capability. Let's look at a new deploy rule. Okay, so here we have a new deploy rule. So I call packed pub rule 2. I'll apply it to all hosts. I click on next. I will select the standard one, then I click next. Let's take a look at skip image profile signature check. This is for the acceptance levels, the 4 or 5 acceptance levels that are there. The VMware certified, VMware accepted, partners supported, and community supported, I believe. And then I click on next, having selected the standard version. Now this is where I can include a host profile in here. So if I had host profiles created up here, they would show up and I would select the host profile. So I'm able to, in a rule, when I'm creating a new rule, specify the host profile, which you should really have to make this useful, in the sense that it's automated. That's the whole idea between auto deploy. If you don't use automation and auto deploy, then I don't see what the point is. But so I would include the host profile, obviously, for our purposes. This would be fine, and then select the location where the hosts should be added. So you can specify the data center or folder or cluster. I don't have that, so I'm not going to include a location in there. And here we are, apply to all hosts. That's the profile, and it'll be inactive initially, which is fine. And I click on that, and packed pub rule 2, the one that we created, actually came up, but it took some time for it to do. So I guess it was being uploaded and so on. It took a minute or more before it actually showed up there. So obviously I click on that and I can activate this rule. Again, you click on it and you move it up to the top, and that's how you would create a new rule. Then moving from there on to deployed hosts. So this would be a list of hosts, their image profiles, their host profiles, the location, and the script bundles which have auto deploy has associated. So when auto deploy is actually in use, this is where your deployed hosts would show up, and the discovered hosts would be the hosts that did not match any deploy rules as listed below. So overall, this graphical user interface is actually quite useful. But again, I think to have real granular command over each and every aspect of what you're trying to do, I'd still think that my own personal opinion is that one would still use Power CLI. It's pretty straightforward to do. But once that's done, and you have your image profile created properly with the proper software packages and things in there from other vendors and so on, that's when you upload it using normal practice. When the image profile is specified in a deploy rule commandlet, then you would have that available in your graphical user interface up here. So it works pretty well. I think there'll be some more changes to this, some more capabilities added, but I think it's almost there. It's very useful the way it is, supplemented a little bit by the Power CLI still, at least in this version 6.5 release. Auto deploy, there's one more thing to consider. If I go into administration and I go into system configuration and look at the services that are running in here, yeah, you can see the image builder service is one, and that's the one that essentially working in conjunction with the auto deploy service that is here, provides us the interface we have just seen in this lab. As you can see, auto deploy, the startup type is manual. That can be changed. So I select that, I go into actions, and I edit the startup type, and I can start it with the vCenter server appliance, or I can, if I click on automatic, this would start it with the vCenter server appliance, or I can leave it manual as I have at this point in time. So I'll cancel out of that. And the same thing would be done for the image builder services as well. At least when I installed it, that's how it came out. And I had to log off and log back on again. And I don't know if it's always the case. At least in my experience, I reboot or restart the vCenter server appliance, so everything is in prime shape. And then everything just worked for me. I had no issues at all. So that's just one aspect that one would need to look out for. So a really useful capability, this auto deploy being available here in the manner that it is, and also the update manager, of course. After looking at image profiles in this video, we will now look at managing the host profiles, which would be used to configure the server after the images have been loaded. So we will look at managing host profiles in a vSphere 6.5 deployment. I look forward to seeing you there.